Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Star Citizen Alpha 3.23 is an absolute beast of a patch. It's swollen with CIG putting in a ton of features over quite a period of time. Today we're going to be looking at what that collection of features is and going into a bit more context of what it actually means for the game. This is for a planned release in April 2024. Bit of a disclaimer though planned and expected in 3.23, there could be delays to these features. They might not be fully implemented. More could turn up as well. There will certainly be a ton of minor changes, maybe tweaks to the lore systems, missions, and there are Evocati changes too this time around, which are the closed group of testers that are NDA'd, non-disclosure agreemented, but they are effectively volunteer backers that go and test Star Citizen patches at their earlier stage. But this time, CIG are publicly releasing the Evocati patch notes, and henceforth, Evocati members, like myself, will be able to actively talk about them. And you can expect some pretty rigorous EPT and PTU testing during March, with the build slowly going out to more and more groups, more and more people, before hitting open PTU and then live. But as I said, live is planned for April currently. Let's take a look at the features. Personal and instanced hangars. So this is going to create an instance of a player's hangar to allow for uninterrupted management of cargo, inventory, and vehicles. So my expectation of that is that Cloud Imperium have an elevator that travels to you wherever your hangar is, but it just creates it as an instance. Be you landing, be you get an elevator there, but once you actually leave it, someone else can effectively go into where your hangar was, and it's their hangar. It might even be as sneaky as keeping the hangar instantized until the doors to the hangar open, and then you can go out. Personal hangars, a little bit different. They're going to be found at the player's home location, so the location you pick as your home when you spawn into the game for the first time, and you will be able to customize and organize the hangar interior. So putting flare down, that sort of stuff. That hangar has a level of customization to it, which will stick every time you return to it. Part of these hangars are the new freight elevators. So this is basically the ability for players to physically load and unload cargo from their ship and then put it into these freight elevators, which appear at hangars, that will then allow you to put that cargo into storage or bring it out of storage and put it onto your ship. This is all managed from a nearby kiosk, but will also affect places that are like outposts that have landing pads, docking collars, garages. It is a pretty massive change because it basically puts a load of additional time for the loading and unloading of your ship, and that vastly changes up the way people will manage their cargo vessels and the way they operate them in-game. It's also worth mentioning that the ability to call up and put away vehicles in freight elevators got pushed to later, so it's not going to be in the initial release of 3.23. There are some new cargo hauling missions though, so this will make use of that freight elevator feature, and it will have players hauling large quantities of cargo, both picking it up and dropping it off to earn both Alpha UEC and reputation. So they are really sort of expanding out those cargo mechanics and actually having cargo hauling and a cargo career as a thing. Maybe we'll get some more stuff to do at the sort of cargo decks at stations as well. Blockade Runner is a new dynamic event. This involves a criminal faction, the Ninetales, locking down a major station and then the L1 and L2 rest stops nearby. Players must run the blockade and purchase and sell a percentage of Quantanium before the time runs out. So this is sort of like an open, larger scale mission that lots of people can join. It's basically an improved, slightly edited version of the Ninetales lockdown event, which got depreciated. Expect some severe improvements here, enough to call it its own new event. Distribution centers, new traversable areas offering players opportunities in corporate and industrial environments. The initial release includes surface levels of these facilities, with underground areas coming later. Now, there's actually a huge amount going on with these distribution centers. They are these big points of interest, and even in 3.23 there's going to be a whole host of missions associated with them, from defending the facilities and the cargo areas of them to just doing deliveries, corporate theft and espionage, and even assassination missions. Now these got loads of floors and loads of levels. There's like garages and road networks and big warehouses, but also a lobby and offices and IT and lots of stuff going on with them. Places to land, freight elevators are here as well. Some of them have their own security and defenses and turrets and stuff, and they're going to be owned by different corporations and brands. I believe there's planned to be 13 of these distribution centres put into 3.23 around Hurston and Microtech, but they will expand out to more locations in the future. These are going to be big hubs of activity with lots of players doing lots of different things at the same time. There's the item bank with unique item recovery as well here. So this basically adds bank kiosks in and around landing zones, allowing players to retrieve and store FPS items at multiple locations. You can also use this to retrieve lost account-bound items such as subscriber flare. So I'm not exactly sure if there's a cost or time associated with that, but you don't have to reset your account anymore to get back your golden armor or special loot. The replication layer. That is planned to turn up at some point during the 3.23 cycle. CIG have been testing this on and off. It's basically a giant step towards server meshing, which effectively server meshing is just adding multiple servers to the replication layer and defining their area of influence and allowing them to hand over authority. In the short term, though, it's going to allow us to have greater server recovery in the event of a crash. We should see significantly less 30Ks, or if they do 30K, they're going to be recoverable. Master Modes is in 3.23. This is a ridiculously big update to ship flight and combat. Vehicles are going to have nav mode and SCM mode when they're flying. So nav mode, you go fast, you can quantum travel, but you can't use your weapons, you can't use your shields, which makes you very vulnerable, but you're traveling fast. Maybe you're fine. You're not being attacked. Don't need your shields. Then there's SCM mode, which is basically your functional mode with your weapons and shields and any sort of beams you've got for your mining and all that sort of jazz being activated. You can't cruise speed, you can't quantum boost though, so there's a big difference between those two choices. And there's a complete retuning of all ships into various archetypes. There's a new gunnery and targeting system. Pretty much all weapons are becoming gimbaled. Various archetypes that Cloud Imperium are breaking ships down into snubs, light fighters, medium fighters, heavy fighters, gunboats, corvettes, and frigates. There's lots of subclasses of that as well, like interceptors and things like that, which modify. And we don't know the full extent of Master Mode changes yet because they are ongoing. You can test them in 3.22.1 and give feedback, and that will help evolve Master Modes before they get put into game in their first live iteration in Alpha 3.23. There's a Moby-Glass rework. They've rebuilt it using building blocks, so this is going to be easier for development in the future, but they've also reworked home, maps, the contract manager, and journal apps. It looks great. FPS loot screen. That is super essential for the game. That's coming in as well. So that'll allow you to loot items very quickly from a body. Items like ammo or meds very quickly and easily, or a weapon, bam, reliably put that into your inventory and immediately use it if need be. And you should be able to do that even during combat's the idea. There's the new FPS map system stuff. So there's a mini-map for your HUD, as well as interior maps for FPS gameplay, helping players stay orientated in close quarters encounters, but also find their way around points of interest. Please be aware that not all ships and locations will be included in the first release of the system. It'll be whatever they've got around to doing at the time, but it will be a lot of locations, or at least a good amount. We also have the star map rework, which is one of the things I'm most looking forward to, because they have improved the star map, so it is functional. It looks better, it works better, it's easier to search and trip plan. There's a bit of magnetism to where you're clicking on as well, so you can actually definitely click on a point. There's filters. It's just absolutely fantastic. A functional, better looking star map. There are visor and lens reworks as well, as converting the sort of visor and lens systems to building blocks again. So this should look a bit better, but it's really for improved performance and flexibility. There's dynamic crosshairs as well. So combat helmets will now support a dynamic crosshair, which will allow for quicker target acquisition in close quarter situations. Sort of points exactly where your weapon is going to fire. They are going to eventually have different types of armor, so combat armor, engineering armor, armor for mining, armor that's better for heat resistance, all that sort of stuff that's much more well defined. And one of the things that combat armors will be able to do is have these dynamic crosshairs. The player interaction experience. This is going to be you interacting with the environment, but more specifically for sort of this release, it's you interacting with objects, so you can much more readily pick out an object from a big pile of them. It's a much more streamlined experience. So when you approach an item, you can actually sort of set what the default action would be if you tapped F or double tapped F, but this is just a significantly improved way of interacting with items in the game and actually being able to pick them up rather than the system going, where are you looking? What are you trying to pick up? There's EVA 2.0, which is an improved version of EVA, has you now in the Iron Man position, flying around. This is better animations and a much better way of handling players and model changes and bumping around, so you should have a significantly better experience. At some point, they're going to implement limited fuel for EVA packs, so might be in 3.23, and there's going to be the use of zero-G push-pull and the tractor beam as well to help pull you around, and they've just sort of refined and improved the experience for those zero-G traversals. There are reputation updates as well with a focus on hostility, so players will now have effectively long-term relationships with in-game organisations outside of missions. So a load of actions, be it take out a member of the Ninetales or do a mission for the UEE or whatever, will affect your reputation with those people that are directly affected, but also lots of other people and orgs potentially. When you've built up enough rep, you'll become like an ally with them, and you'll get player benefits with that, such as generous friendly fire thresholds, and they might provide medical aid. There's also the downside of that, where if you've got a really low rep, then that's going to be harsher friendly fire thresholds, and they may attack you on sight, not allow you into certain zones, things like that. Lawful organisations won't attack on sight as long as they're in a monitored zone, whereas unlawful factions will just go straight after you no matter what. This is the foundation for allowing players to become allies with in-world criminal factions and enables places like Grimhex to enforce their own law. There is a new character creator, but also a huge amount of additional customizations for characters, and assumedly NPCs as well. So this includes a new interface for the character creator and additional customization options. New heads, new hair, dye for hair, facial hair, makeup, and a DNA sculpting system, so you can sort of pull features of your character and it will try and find a matching feature, or it will try and blend features together from its database. Hopefully that will go out to NPCs as well, because then you have lots of different variety. And just changes in hair, that's a huge improvement. That allows for so much more variety in the game. There are a few Arena Commander updates as well. There's the new flight map, Miner's Lament. Previously, this was exclusive to racing and part of the Master Mode tests. This is now being made as a dogfighting map, effectively. So it's an asteroid-laden expanse in the Ring of Yella. There is Gravlev Royale as well, which is basically a new game mode across some different maps, having you fight while you're on a Gravlev vehicle. So it's going to be combat and assumedly a single winner. Tying all this together and all the other stuff in Arena Commander, custom lobbies have been put back in. So this was previously referred to as private matches, but now you can set up a match, choose the game mode, choose the map, and set your own rules. That's going to be really good for people that want to do anything interesting. You want to do a PvP tournament, you want to do something silly PvE, whatever, that's going to allow you to do a lot more there. There is something else pretty big in Arena Commander though. Engineering experimental modes are being tested now, so this is really exciting. So they're basically going experimental mode in Arena Commander. There's 3 different modes to test. This is the engineering gameplay. This is the resource network stuff that they showcased at CitizenCon 2953. Repairing and replacing components, putting out fires, managing the engineering systems, opening doors, closing doors, opening vents. This sort of expands out what multi-crew on a ship is, and will have components physicalized and they can be detached effectively from their circuit. There are fuses and stuff going on here as well. You need engineers going around basically larger ships, repairing them, maintaining them. And this goes really well and hand in hand with some of the Master Modes updates they've got as well. So precision targeting allows you to zoom in on a ship and highlight a particular component that you want to shoot at, so you can target subsystems. You counter that gameplay with engineering, where they're going to be repairing those subsystems and putting out fires and that sort of stuff. I think that's pretty big and pretty exciting. I'm interested to know what all 3 modes will be though, because how's that all going to work? Are they going to have one where you just are all on a hammerhead or something, repairing it while NPCs fight, stuff like that? Talking about some stuff that's not on the roadmap, but should be released in 3.23. Some new ships and vehicles. There might be some stuff that's we've never seen before, that's straight to flyable, or it might be some concepts made real. I'm expecting 1 or more of those 10 ships that we saw at CitizenCon to make their way into game. There was one that looked a bit like a hoverbike, which makes sense that they'd release it here with the Gravlev updates and the Gravlev Royale mode. CIG mentioned Xenothreat updates for 3.23. They're looking to usher in 3.23 by running the Overdrive Initiative event during the 3.22.1 cycle that we're currently in, and we know those sort of missions are there because we tested them. And yeah, they say they could be running this Xenothreat adjacent set of missions as they go into 3.23 and during 3.23, and then have the actual major Xenothreat dynamic event run. It looks like they've made a load of updates to this. We don't know exactly what, but it's obviously going to be in line with all their new systems in gameplay. Really looking forward to it. Xenothreat is one of my favourites. With this in mind as well, there are Idris updates. So this is the big frigate that's going to appear not just in the Persistent Universe, but the Idris M is very much part of Squadron 42. We saw them test Capture the Idris, and with this we know that the interior of the Idris M is sort of in-game, and the Idris is pretty flyable. Now, we're not going to get the player Idris in our hands properly. We're not going to be able to go, oh, I own an Idris, cool, I can spawn one, I can land one, or whatever. But I do think we might see an updated ship and loads more of that ship being used in-game as part of Xenothreat, as part of salvage missions, boarding missions, that sort of jazz. We also know there are economy updates that Cloud Imperium haven't put on the roadmap, but we know that they're coming to 3.23, so they've updated the price of loads of stuff to give the economy more bite, ships, weapons, FPS gear, probably payouts for missions and that sort of stuff as well. Obviously, this is really important because they've got loading and unloading cargo now, which sort of changes what's going on and gives a lot more depth to pricing. Pricing is going to be balanced around, well, at least for ships, size, role, archetype, manufacturer, etc. They gave us an estimate of what some new ship prices might be, around 500,000 AVUEC for the Medical Pisces, 2 million for an Arrow, 10 million for a Constellation, 45 to 50 million for a Hammerhead. The NIT jump might be around 70 million, but this is all still a work in progress, and eventually it will be dynamic, but we're not there yet. Long-term persistent database updates are also here. So this is actually technically part of 3.22.1, but will affect 3.23. This means that most likely, more things will be carried across without issue. So ships and vehicles and stuff like that should be carried across without issue to 3.23, unless CIG decide to have a full wipe. Now, CIG, sometimes they're going to have a full database wipe, but 3.23 probably won't have one. There's a few other little maybes as well. Vulcan updates, just getting some proper graphics options in there as well. Gas Cloud and engine updates. Cloud Imperium talked a while ago about the cargo barge heist, where you'd have this cargo barge which you could buy the location of around Crusader, and you'd go there and assault it, and it would be a dynamic event. Lots of other people could be there. There's cargo containers there that you'd have to find the codes for, and you could work out what's in them by their brands, and there's lots of loot, but you're going to be competing against Ninetales Security and other players for that. More salvage updates are quite likely, in my opinion, as well. They might start working more towards bounty hunting version 2, and there's a load of other maybes. There's a load of other minor stuff they might put in. There's a load of like lore updates and stuff like that you'll almost certainly see, and lots of bug fixes too. Boom! That's it for your Star Citizen Alpha 3.23 features update and what we're expecting from the patch. I am really interested to know what you are excited for. Is there anything there in particular that you think definitely won't or is unlikely to make it? Is there something not there that you're like, well, actually, this is probably going to be there or should be there? I am really looking forward to engineering, just testing it in Arena Commander. Really, really excited for that. And for 3.23 in general, there's sort of expansion of missions and reputation updates with hostility, star map and mini map, master modes, replication layer, cargo updates, and the sort of persistent hangars and distribution centers, and there's just so much going on there, and I'm really interested to know what excites you. Even if they hit about 70% of that, I would be pretty happy. But whatever your thoughts or questions, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. People always ask me, what's your favorite ship? And I always answer, it's NordVPN with its powerful loadout. It wrecks pros and noobs alike. I can cruise around the verse with the added security that online threats aren't as much of a big deal. It also deals with intrusive ads like this one and gives you a greater accessibility to content you may want to watch on other platforms. I can watch Japanese Netflix. Is that even a thing? Maybe. You can find out with NordVPN. It is worth mentioning that CIG and Star Citizen don't actually produce a NordVPN ship yet, but NordVPN is available separately from the links below, and clicking those does help me buy spaceships, so it's basically the same thing, right? Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. Get Nord, give ships. I don't know. That's an amazing promo. Every month, We give away a ship for Star Citizen. For February 2024, we're giving away a Drake Corsair Explorer with lifetime insurance and a game package. Everything you need to play and explore Star Citizen in style. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during this month. It is as easy as that. More details in the comments below. A massive thank you to everyone that goes the extra mile in supporting the channel. It is with your support we are able to make daily Star Citizen videos. If you want to be one of those lovely people, then please check out the join button under my videos. That will help you become a channel member. There's Patreon, there's direct donations. All the links for all of that are down below. But there are loads of non-monetary ways you can help support us. Commenting, sharing, liking, all of that sort of stuff goes a huge way in helping the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and you have a great day.